So first, the methodology and the tools we used. So as you might know, Planet 4 was launched last year. So we decided to gather some qualitative research and quantitative data findings to assess this first Planet 4 version. So basically, we analyzed how end users feel about the design in general, how they interact with the prototype, meaning the JPI website, and how they understand it. So yes, this document presents the main findings, which is helping us making design decisions and improve the global user experience. So basically, we used some tools for the qualitative user research, such as Usabila. Some people might know that Usabila is really helpful to help us making some surveys to collect also user feedback on the website. We also use Hotjar for heat maps and video recordings to look at users' behavior. And Lookback, which is basically to do usability tests and to record user feedback. And then we also use Google Analytics, Hotjar for quantitative data as well, and Google Data Studio. So regarding the qualitative research, so as I said, we use Usabila to collect user feedback. But also we ran last year when Planet 4 was launched a global survey to collect feedback about the design, the navigation, and the findability. And this year, we made a usability test to find out how users navigate and can find information on the website. But we also look at video recordings to look at users' behaviors. About quantitative data, so we use Google Analytics, obviously. We also have some user behavior tracking that we use with Google Tag Manager, and also heat maps with Hotjar. So what is our design iteration workflow? So first we evaluate what we already have in production. Then we analyze with qualitative research and quantitative data. Then after this analyze, basically we do some design and we prototype new assumptions. And then we do into the user testing phase to confirm or not those assumptions. And if the assumptions are good, obviously we will go into the development phase. So what about the design? So again, we only analyzed the JPI website. So according to the first survey and the user feedback we collected, so users mostly liked the Planet 4 website when it was launched compared to the Planet 3 version because it was more positive about the colors, the modernity of the layout, which was really good to see that users were really keen on that. But some other users had more mixed feelings or were negative about the design, mainly about colors, brand recognition, and also legibility. So we also should take into consideration that we had some internal feedback, like we had end users, of course, but also feedback from internal staff. About the color theme, so users made compliments about the design in general, like I said, but certain users say that the color theme is too dark and doesn't really reflect what Greenpeace does. Like there is a lack of dynamism and bright colors. And also for images, some users found that photos seem a bit washed out sometimes, and the diagonal concept can confuse them. We can also see that a lot of users commented on the legibility, so we can observe some issues on that. for instance, where there is a text over on an image. And they also mentioned a lack of color contrast on background pages. So in general, we had positive but also negative feedback. We had some interesting quotes there. So what we will recommend is that we should explore and test new color theme options that meet Planet 4 target audience expectations, because we don't have just one audience, but obviously Planet 4 is all around the world. So yeah, we need to address a design that fit that audience. So Planet 4 team is already working on making improvements such as legibility. And yes, what about navigation? Navigation. So navigation evaluation comes from qualitative user research and quantitative data. In general, users are more likely to use web standards, like using navigation menus or search engines. But some users were mainly positive about the website's ease of use, but the global navigation could be confusing for some others. For instance, what we collected from the first survey is that 57% of people like the navigation system, and 70 like the information architecture, which was really positive. And we have also interesting quotes about it. And I pass it to Julia to talk about the quantitative data.
So we used a specific tracking Google Tag Manager to get the interactions with the menu and with the tags. So the hashtags that we can find, and also the category, the issues tags that we find on posts and on the header. This, like this simple table, shows a little bit the click-through rate of some of the elements that we find on the menu. So we can see that for the GPI website, if we look at all pages, one of the elements that is most used is the country selector. I think that reflects a lot the fact that the international website is the global redirect page. So whenever you type greenpeace.org from Brazil or from Italy, you will land at the GPI website. So that's why we have this high use of the country selector. This happens in most of the countries, except on the regions that there's a GeoIP redirect set. We can also see that search bar and act and explore are being used a lot. If we look at act and explore, they have a very similar click-through rate, but the search bar is a little bit more used. And then we have, of course, like donate button is one of the last interactive buttons. And we have also in the complete report a little bit more data about specific on the pages. So which of those elements are more used in the homepage or act and explore. But I think we can, yes. So, and this is another overview just to show the interactions with the menu as a whole. So in any of those buttons that I've showed before, they are mostly used in the homepage, especially because of what I have mentioned about the country selector. And then we have a similar use when you are on Act or Explore. I think something that I can highlight in this graph is also that when we look at stories and press releases, which are post types, we have a lower use of the menu navigation. So that could show perhaps that this type of content is more consumed and they don't keep a lot the users within the website after. Especially because stories and press releases in general, the post type pages, they are receiving most users from the outside. So they are the top landing page groups for GPI. Yeah, I think, and then we have also tracked the tags navigation, so we can see that those tags, they are appearing on the headers of some of the pages and some posts as well. They are also appearing on the take action cards and on the articles list. So we have tracked clicks in all of those cases, and like the general result that we had is that those tags are not being used. So this graph shows a little bit a comparison between some of the events that we have in Google Analytics for the GPI website. So we can see the total events in the period that we analyzed it and how low is the navigation tags compared, for example, with the use of the menu or clicks in the take action cards, for example. So if I'm not mistaken, the click-through rate of those tags, like any of those tags, is less than 1% in all of the pages. So it shows us really that maybe this is not working as a way to drive users from one page to another inside the GPI website.
Yes, so when we look at also the quantitative data, but also the qualitative research, we observed navigation issues when users were interacting with the website. So basically, the navigation menu is mostly used on the home page, but also on Act or Explore pages, but not so much on the other pages. So users are more likely to use the search than the Act and Explore entry points in the end. And as Julia said, the tags are not so used as well as a navigational system. So we should reconsider the tags, because we think that it's a good idea to have some tags on the navigation, but maybe we should consider another approach to test. So basically, we would like to test a global new navigation approach for all of this, and then check those assumptions through user research. It will be also great to have the other NROs with us on this improvement about navigation, because it's a huge part of the product. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to interrupt, or otherwise, if you're okay, I'm going to talk about the findability. So the findability, meaning our users can find information on the website. So we only use qualitative research to assess findability. And according to the first survey results, some users had issues to find what they were looking for. Then when we asked users to find specific information when we conducted the usability test, we observed that they couldn't really complete the task. So when we look at the survey results, like 70% of the user dislike, it's not really the good term here, but yeah, had issues to find some information. For instance, 20% of these comments were looking information about volunteering with Greenpeace, and some other were about news or about page or contact, and only 7% about the campaigns. And then when we did the usability test, we asked participants to find different pieces of information, like Greenpeace campaigns or a really specific issue. So in general, we observed that the participants struggled to find the Greenpeace campaigns on the website. For instance, half of the participants expected to find a campaigns button within the navigation menu. So if you are interested in that, you can see after there is a specific report for this usability test. So yes, some of them clicked on Act or Explore to find campaigns, but the content of the page confused them sometimes, especially the Explore page. We can see that the users struggle to find specific information by using different paths, either through the navigation menu, the search engine, or even the sitemap. So some of the users really struggle to complete this kind of task. So Planet 4 dev team is working on a new search engine with Elasticsearch to improve search results. So maybe it will help us to drive users to find a specific information. But again, it's also related to the navigation system. So we should definitely test new navigation approaches. And we will also work on a different way to organize some content on certain pages, like the home page and the explore page. And these different approaches will be tested through user research. And then we also took a look at the main pages of the website. So I'll pass it to Julia now.
Hi. Just a comment that I forgot to mention before that is actually very important is that we did this analysis around January and February, and during that time we still had an issue with the cookies blocker on the GPI website. So we were only capturing about 5% of our whole traffic. So one of the ideas is that this would give us like a general overview so that we can redo this analysis later. Right now we have already fixed that problem, so we're going to, in the next months, redo all this analysis and hopefully also getting data from other websites so that we can have like a more general overview about the product. So this is just a little bit of how much traffic we have to each of the content types of the Planet 4 GPI. We can see that the homepage is the most visited one. After that, we have take action pages and story pages with similar amount of traffic. Although the story pages, when we look specific at the landing page groups, the story is the second one, which means that it is receiving more traffic from the outside. And then we look at specifically to act and explore, as they are the first, they're the two entry points from the menu, and also to the tags and issues pages. Yes, something else that it's interesting to mention is that when we look at the Google Analytics account for GPI, we have 60% of the traffic going straight to Planet 4, and the other 40% goes to Engage Networks pages. In this case, we were only analyzing data from the Planet 4. So about the homepage, something that we could see is that we have a high exit rate. So we have like about 40% of our users leaving the GPI website. Most of those users, they flow to another Greenpeace page through the use of the country selector. But we also have a high loss of users that we can investigate more to understand why that is happening. Yeah, and the homepage, of course, is the first landing page group that receives most of the users. So this data is from the Hotjar. Hotjar is able to help us analyze a little bit about the elements of the page, the blocks. So we have divided in menu, country selector, carousel, and all of the blocks that we can see on the homepage. First thing that we notice is that the menu has a higher click-through rate the mobile menu has a higher click-through rate, especially because all of the options, they are behind the menu button. So it demands one click more for you to actually go to act or an explore. We can see that in desktop, country selector is the most used. What else? We also have analyzed the carousel itself. If you look later at the complete report, we are able to see that although the carousel has a lot of interactions, we don't have many interactions in the calls to action. So the users are clicking to see the images and flowing from one slide to another, but we don't have as many clicks on the orange calls to action as we expected. We can also see that the articles list, for example, it has more. The performance is better on desktop, and that's a pattern that we can also see on other types of pages that have the same block. And just something else that I wanted to highlight also is that the 2-column block, although it's the second block when you see in the page, so you have the carousel and beneath you have already the 2-column, it is not receiving as many interactions as well. So yeah, I think we can go to it. So yeah, in general, given this strong use of the country selector and exit rate, we have planned deeper investigations. The team is working in the landing page solutions, so the users will be able to choose which country they want to go before landing at the GPI website, and this probably will be recorded, so the user doesn't have to select the country all the time. And we have also planned a survey to investigate the high exit rate and an internal workshop to test new assumptions of the content. Yeah, and something else that, although the analysis in overall was focused on the structure, we have some insights about the content as well. And we will be able to check some of the structure approach assumptions when we also analyze other websites which have the same blocks.
Yes, I will also like to add that if the landing page solution solved the exit rate issue on the home page, it won't be necessary to run the survey to see if users why users are leaving the page, because one of the assumptions is that users are leaving the page to go to their country. Let's move on to Act page.
Yes, so the Act page, in general, we can see that the desktop behavior versus the mobile and tablet is very similar to all of the blocks. Basically, the take action covers are the ones that are receiving most of the interactions. And also, if we look at the user flow, we can see that from the Act, the users are flowing to the take action pages. Let me see. So something that we saw during this analysis was that specifically about the take action cards, there were a lot of users that were clicking on the title of the page and on the background, but not on the orange button. So that was a problem because the background of the card is not linkable. It doesn't have a link to the take action pages. So it's something that we were looking more closely after this analysis. And yes, in general, the menu is also being used as much as in the Explore page. And users are more likely to click on the covers rather than the header, because the Act page has a header, and usually there is a petition and a call to action in the first orange button, but that's not being so much used as the take action covers below on the page. Okay. So yeah, it's like the general overview of this page is that it is taking the users for the action on the take action pages. Again, the problem that we saw on elements that are not interactive. And for example, the tags as well on the take action cards are perceived as informative, so they shouldn't be clickable. Which means that when we were analyzing the card itself, we saw that there were not many clicks on the tags. Yeah, I think that's it for the take for that. So the take action pages, um, we saw that as expected, the tasks is the block that has most of the interactions. The mobile users, they do click a lot on those tasks, so we have a higher click-through rate. While if we look at the desktop users, they are either clicking on the header or on the tasks itself. So in this case, the header, the orange, and the call to action that we have, the first thing on the page, is more used than it is on the act page. Something else that we saw is that we have also a high exit rate, about 44% of those pages. And this could indicate either that some of the petitions that we have on the GPI website are not completely tracked with cross domains on Google Analytics, or that we have users that are flowing to actions in non-Greenpeace pages. For example, if I have a page, sorry. For example, if I have a page, a task that is sending the users to share something on Facebook, or in a page that we don't have tracked, that could also explain this exit rate from the GPI website. Oh, yeah. And if we look at the previous pages, we can see that the majority of the users, they land in the take action pages through the website itself. It's not something that comes from an external traffic source, the majority. Yes, so take action fulfills its purpose as the second page most visited, and the users are interacting a lot with the tasks. So the tracking that we did, it can also help us to know which of the tasks is having more clicks. So that might be interesting if you want to deep dive later and check a little bit more about content. But as a whole, we were just looking at the block itself. Okay, so the Explore page, basically, if we look at the design when we were analyzing, it had the split two column block, and below it had the articles list. So we can see that most of the interactions are happening on this split two column block. Something that's a little bit different, the design from the mobile to the desktop. So when we look at the mobile, we have only the issues title. So in this case would be energy, nature, people, and ships. But if we look at the desktop, we have the full widget with issues in one side and the tags in the other. So something interesting, if we look specifically at the design on desktop, we can see that although the orange button on the right side, which is related to the tags page, is like the most prominent, it appears, it has like a higher hierarchy on the page, the users are clicking a lot more in this very small text call to action on the left, which says learn more. So it's something that it was curious that those users were, probably because of the content, they were clicking more at the issues and not on the get involved button. Also for the menu, we can see that about the menu, we can see that there's also the use is very similar to the act page, and again the articles list is mostly used on desktop. Yeah, I think we can go. I will try to be faster now because I just saw that we have only 20 minutes left. So about the Explore, the split might not be so clear for the users, and they don't know what to expect behind those links or call to actions. The navigation between Explore, issue, and tags is not so intuitive, and it doesn't help users to go from one topic to another. So we saw a lot in the users' flow that the users are coming back to the Explore page. So they might not find what they're looking for, and they go back. And so one of the next steps would be to test a new content navigation for this page. Yeah. So now about the story pages. In general, we can see that for images, posts, elements, which could be any link inside the post and the header. They are mostly from desktop users, and also the articles list. So, for example, this behavior of the articles list has repeated itself in all of the pages that we have looked at. And yes, if we also look at the exit rates, we can see that the mobile has a little bit higher exit rate. So maybe that's a difference from desktop to mobile users in the way they consume content. Desktop users are more likely to keep inside the website or flow from one story page to another. Yeah, I think that's it in general. So as it is one of the most visited pages, we can assume that users are interested in reading articles and news. It is also because we share a lot stories and not so much maybe the other type of posts. That's another analysis that we can do about the channels itself. Users are mostly going from one article to another by clicking on more articles block or sharing as well. And again, they don't use the tags, the breadcrumbs links. And we also want to analyze specifically the take action card, but for doing that, we need to select just pages that have the take action card on it. So in general, the recommendation is that we can duplicate the take action card behind on the end of the article on mobile as well. So taking action could be a next step after reading it. So we also looked at the issue pages. The issues is one of the pages that has lower exit rates. So most 70% of the users, if I'm not mistaken, they flow to another page. And basically they are going to the tag pages through the campaign thumbnail. So we can see that in desktop, this block has the higher click-through rate. While in mobile, we also have the covers. So users are either going to the text through the campaign, or they are going to take action pages. Something, just a very quick comment, interesting to see is that in desktop, we have a lot of clicks in the split 3-column block, which is the image, which has the split column. Although this block doesn't have links. So users might be trying to click and enlarge the image. We need to understand a little bit more, but that's something that we notice as well. So we can see that users are interested in campaigns, but they are niche pages, which drive them to navigate between explore issues and tags, or use the search bar to find what they are looking for. So they are looking for campaign specifically or learn more about the topic. If we provide less users, less steps to access what they are interested in, they will have a better navigation experience. So this is also part of the new navigation approach that we're going to study and develop. Yes, and about the tags, basically the tags are one of the least visited groups. Although we can find links to the tags pages in every post and in every take action card and take action page, it's interesting to see that those pages are not so much visited. But when the users are on those pages, they click a lot on the covers, the take action cards. Again, they go to articles, but desktop users are more likely to click on an article post. And here we also find that the header had a lot of interactions, especially on the paragraph, although it doesn't have any links as well, since the text is defined automatically on the WordPress. Yes, and we also have publication blocks, which are performing better on desktop.
Yeah, just to conclude on the tag pages, so although the tags are almost accessible on any pages of the website, those tag pages are the least visited pages. So in my confirm that users don't really use the tag navigation system. But while they are on the tag pages, they are more likely to go to the take action pages or to read articles. So it's really positive to see that people are really interested to go into the Take Action pages, because it could confirm the future of Planet 4 to be an engagement platform.
Yes, just a quick comment that we also went to benchmark those findings with NRO's websites, especially because there's always difference in like NRO's campaigns, and the strategy for content might be different from GPI. So we also need to benchmark across different regions and ages and different audience that we have.
Yes, so before doing this new navigation work and test new assumptions, we will also like to get to know better Planet 4 audience. So for that, we would like to make more investigation on our current audience, but also on our future target audience. We observe that this current audience could be younger than the one we used to have, meaning Gen Y and Gen Z, who is more likely to take action than older ones. So we are working on audience research as well for Planet 4. We are running a survey on the GPI website, and we will also run a survey on other NROs to have a global overview of who our audience is and what we need to do to address them with a better user experience and design. So yes, like I said, and so we will go into this audience research, and then we will test a new navigation approach. And finally, we will also test new user interface and color theme options, especially because there is also this new branding project. I know that Eileen, you are working on it, so it's really interesting to have your feedback, maybe later. So yes, and also what is really important for us is to liaise more with the other NROs.